Montana history. Secrets of the Great Unknown. Montana, a land vast and silent, where time drifts like fog through sweeping valleys and forgotten trails. Of all the states in America, only Alaska, Texas, and California hold more land, but few places whisper so many stories beneath their soil. To the north, it touches the cold breath of Canada, British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan. On its southern edge lies Wyoming, to the east the Dakotas, and the west, rugged Idaho. But Montana is not what it first seems. Though its name, Montana, speaks of towering peaks, this land surprises. With an average elevation of just 3,400 feet, it sits lower than the rest of the mountain states. Still, the Rocky Mountains carve a dramatic path through western Montana, descending from British Columbia in a relentless sweep. Beyond these jagged heights, the land softens. Eastern Montana becomes a haunting, rolling expanse, part of the northern Great Plains. Here, cattle roam where buffalo once thundered, and the wind carries the faint echo of languages nearly lost. Human footprints are few, yet the land remembers. The capital, Helena, stands quietly, an old soul in a modern world. But the story of Montana stretches back far deeper than any city or border. Nearly 7,000 years ago, humans first set foot here. They left no stone walls or towering monuments, only whispers in the earth, scattered bones, fire pits, and flint. Later, drawn by the call of the plains and its teeming herds, the Plains Indians came west. In the 1600s, tribes crossed the continent's heart, chasing the migration of buffalo under the endless sky. By the dawn of the 19th century, the land was mapped by nations, but lived in by legends. The Crow ruled the south-central lands. The Cheyenne moved like shadows in the southeast. In the northeast, the Assiniboine and the Yatsina, known also as the Grove Ventures of the Prairie, watched the stars in silence. The powerful Blackfoot dominated the central and northern plains, fierce and unyielding. To the northwest, the Kootenai made their home. Around Flathead Lake, the Pendile moved through misty forests, while the Kalispel watched from the mountains west. The Flathead people lived in the Clark Fork and Bitterroot valleys until they were taken from their ancestral lands, pushed into the Flathead Valley. Each tribe etched its story into the rivers, the cliffs, the dust. But history would not be kind. As the United States surged westward, treaties were broken, lives uprooted, and traditions nearly extinguished. Still, many tribes endure, living today on reservations, still guarding the memories, the songs, the ancient rhythms of Montana's earth. Montana isn't just a state. It's a mystery stretched across centuries, a place where ghost trails wind through shadowed forests, and the silence between the mountains holds more truth than any written word. Montana history, echoes of empire and earth. In 1803, with a stroke of a pen, Montana became part of the United States, not by conquest, but by purchase. The Louisiana Purchase opened up vast, unknown lands to the young republic. Few could imagine what lay beyond a veil of trees and plains. Fewer still were prepared for the power and peril of what they would find. Then came the explorers. In 1804, two names carved themselves into the American story: Meriwether Lewis and William Clark. Their expedition, winding west through uncharted wilderness, brought them into Montana. What they saw, they recorded with awe: high peaks wrapped in cloud, endless rivers, and ancient paths known only to the tribes who had walked them for centuries. But they were only the beginning. The trappers came next, restless, wild-eyed men chasing fortunes and furs. They followed the waterways, set their traps, and bartered with native nations. From their camps rose the first forts. One of these, Fort Benton, founded in 1846, survives to this day, its quiet streets whispering of a time when it was the last outpost of civilization on the Missouri River. Then the priests arrived. In 1841, Roman Catholic missionaries built St. Mary's Mission near modern-day Stevensville. It is believed to be the first permanent settlement in Montana, and it marked a shift from transient commerce to rooted ambition. By now, trails have been carved deep into the land: the Northern Overland Route, the Bozeman Trail, and the Mullen Road. Steamboats found their terminus at Fort Benton, the edge of a new frontier. Then came the gold. In the early 1860s, The earth gave up its glittering secrets. Rich place of deposits drew dreamers and desperados alike. Greed lit the sky like lightning. In response, the U.S. government created the Montana Territory in 1864, aiming to lock down its mineral wealth before others could claim it. Bannack rose as the first capital, nestled along Grasshopper Creek. Soon after, Virginia City and Alder Gulch echoed with the clamor of pickaxes and ambition. But these riches came at a devastating price. As settlers poured into sacred hunting lands, the native nations fought back with fire and fury. In June 1876, the Dakota, Sioux, and the Cheyenne made their final stand, united under the wide Montana sky, at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. There, General George Armstrong Custer's cavalry fell to their spears and bullets. It was a stunning victory, but a fleeting one. The following year, in the Shadow Big Hole Basin, Chief Joseph and the Nez Perce delivered another blow, only to be driven back, captured just miles from freedom across the Canadian border. "I will fight no more forever," he said. But the land remembered. On November 8, 1889, Montana was carved into the Union as the 41st state. Its capital would be Helena, but its heart was already burning. In the city of Butte, born from gold, Butte became something far more valuable: copper. Deep beneath the soil, the veins ran rich and deep, and from this wealth emerged an empire. Shaft mining began in the 1880s. Soon, Butte was crowned the richest hill on earth. From a nearby town of Anaconda, Marcus Daly built an industrial dynasty. His Anaconda Company didn't just mine copper, it mined influence. With control over smelters, newspapers, politics, and the very laws of the land, the company cast a long shadow across Montana for nearly 75 years. Meanwhile, to the east, the plains whispered promises of prosperity. Cattle and sheep were driven in from Texas during the 1860s, feeding on grass that seemed endless. But the winter of 1886 to 87 struck like a curse. Ice, wind, and starvation wiped out herds by the thousands. Still, the land called. Around 1900, a wave of homesteaders surged in, breaking sod and planting hope into dry, reluctant earth. For a time, the crops flourished. Then the rain stopped. Dust choked the fields. One by one, the dreamers vanished, leaving behind empty cabins and ghost towns swallowed by wind. Montana has always been a land of extremes, of wealth and wilderness, of triumph and tragedy. But above all, it is a land that refuses to be tamed. Montana history, the end of an era, the birth of a new frontier. In 1915, the quiet grasslands of eastern Montana stirred again. Not with gold or copper this time, but with something older, buried deeper: petroleum. The first wells were struck in the Great Plains, releasing black rivers of wealth from beneath the earth. By the 1950s, oil production surged, and in the 1960s, it reached its peak. But like all things in Montana, boom turned to echo. The oil fields faded into quiet. Coal, too, rose from the shadows of the past. Once the lifeblood of stoves and steam engines, coal mining surged in the 1970s, briefly reclaiming its place in Montana's economic mythos. But as the world changed, so did the land's fortune. Coal waned. The market moved on. Yet the hunger for energy remained. In the early 21st century, as petroleum prices soared again, eyes turned once more toward Montana's sleeping coal reserves. The land still held secrets. But this time there was hesitation, because Montana had changed. In the 1980s, the copper giants fell. The once unstoppable mines of Butte went dark. The Anaconda smelter was silenced. The copper refinery at Great Falls shut its gates. The copper century had ended, and with it, the age of Montana's industrial might. This was a turning point, a quiet revolution. Montana no longer placed its fate in the hands of mines or oil rigs. Instead, it looked inward, to its mountains wrapped in mist, to its rivers as clear as glass, to the haunting silence of its open plains. Tourism rose, and with it, a new economy, one that didn't tear at the earth, but honored it. In the 1990s, it wasn't the industries that drew people here. It was the soul of the place itself. From bustling coasts to crowded cities, retirees and dreamers alike found their way to Montana, not for gold or copper, but for peace, for space, for something lost. Though the pace slowed in the 21st century, the spirit remained. Montana had become more than a frontier. It had become a refuge. And yet, its history is never finished. The land remembers. Beneath every ridge and beneath every forgotten mine lies a story still whispering, still waiting. Montana's past is not a closed chapter. It's a living tale, one that continues to shape its future. Want more forgotten chapters and hidden truths from America's past? Subscribe to History Love now and travel deeper into the stories the textbooks forgot. Like, comment, and share Montana's mystery spoke to you. And remember, every landscape holds a legend. Let's uncover them together.